Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Mark from PowerSonic and Apprentice 121. Today we've got a Schneider IKQ board that we're going to look at. These are an alternative to the Acti9 range that people are more familiar with. Historically they would have been Square D, but now they're under the Schneider brand. You can see I've got a 125 amp main switch just down here if we pan down. So this is the main incoming device we've got. We've gone for one with a neutral on as well because this is going to be going into domestic premises. And as you all know, we need to make sure we isolate all live conductors via a main switch within those places. So that's why we've got the 4-pole isolator. With these boards, you can use them in a single phase application as well. As you see in this instruction manual here, you can buy the kits. Basically links out on the incoming terminals, and then you can use these in a single phase setup. So if you've got a lot of circuits going in, that's absolutely ideal. You can see the RCBOs here that we've gone for. They do still have the fly leads on, which is unfortunate, but a lot of the three-phase kit still does. And they have these pins on the back here which lock into the spine board that you can see as you move up here. So these simply clip in, and that's your line termination made. There's no screws to tighten up to as you would normally have on a three-phase system. So that's a nice little solution there. The top mounting plate comes off, as you can see down here. I've already taken this off and drilled the holes out for our containment entry points. So you see we've gone for couplers here. It's really simple, it just clips in and off. You can see on the top here there's the 2 screws. So that plate just slides in and out. It's really straightforward. You know you get everything marked just right then, and the gland plate can simply be slotted onto the top and tied in with the containment out on site. I'm going to get on with demonstrating that now. So I'm going to pop these RCBOs into the board. I'll put you on the tripod and you can watch me doing that, and we'll get this gland plate all mounted up and jump back on with a video in just a second. Okay, so you can see I've got this board laid out now, nice and flat. I've got this all coupled in across the top. You can see I've left, well, you can't see from that camera angle probably, but the bushes are pushed up tight onto the top of the trunking and they protrude into the board just underneath this top lip. The reason being just to give the cables a nice swooping entry into the distribution board rather than leaving any snags inside the containment where we're going to be stripping them back to their basic insulation. We don't need to worry about the single phase conversion kits. As I said, we've got this main switch here. One thing to make sure you're careful of is that the clamps are actually open, and then it simply slides up and in and clips onto that little blocking plate there. It's not a DIN rail as such, but has the same effect, and you get the incoming device nicely into position. So I'm going to build this up off-site just because it's a little bit easier, I find. You've got loads of space here to work. This is the actual board we're popping in on our install of ours, so it's going on a domestic property that's getting 3-phase installed. This is a 12-way board, so that's 12 triple pole ways. So if you was to break that down into a single phase installation, you've got 36 ways. The way we're going to be using this primarily is services for inside the dwelling itself. So we're going to be taking our socket circuit, lighting circuits, there's some air conditioning, obviously the cooker circuits that are going in, any showers, all the normal things you'd find in a domestic property, but we're also going to swing a 3-phase supply over to the workshop where the client has a car maintenance kind of thing that they do as a sideline and hobby themselves, and they need 3-phase for some of the equipment in there, and we're also going to pop them in a 3-phase car charging point. Now there are some considerations to keep in mind when you're running 3-phase around somebody's home. And typically that might be if you've got different phases in the same sort of area. You need to be careful with these things in ways that you might not normally consider so much in a commercial setting, just because everything's spread out much more than in a domestic home. So you do have to factor that in, and we'll cover that while we're out on that install in a separate video. But for this one, I just wanted to focus in on this IKQ board from Schneider. They're a lower cost alternative to the Acti9 range, as I already said. You still get the same Schneider quality, so you've got a nice solid Schneider 4-pole 125 amp main switch in here. We've got the earthing block at the top for mounting all of our earthing conductors. We've got a neutral shield that most people usually end up losing when they're out on site doing testing. I've put that many covers back onto boards over the years and had these sat on the floor in front of me. If I had £1 for every time, I could buy myself a few extra drinks during the World Cup. But this simply removes, just clips off once you've unscrewed it, and away you go. So we've got that out the way now as well. I'll just rest that there for the minute. It does come with some cover screws and the earth nut, because you need to bring your main earth in. We'll cover that out on the install as well. Yes, I'm just going to drop these RCBOs in now. So I've got one out ready at the minute, which we'll run through, and then I'll probably time lapse the rest because it's pretty boring watch someone fit a load of breakers into a board, but you can see this is a B32. Now I'm gonna just drop this in the bottom side here. Really simple. You've got your prongs, they just push in, and then make sure you extend out, which I should have done before I loaded it in, but just to prove you can work around it. Open up the clamp so it'll slide on top of that DIN rail, and then lock it shut. And that's it fitted now. There's no, as I said, no screw terminal to tighten on here. That's it into the spine board. You've got your connection. You know, it's one less connection that you need to worry about. It is a bit of a faff sometimes on 3-phase, making sure you've got onto the tabs. You know, it's easy with a single-phase domestic system. You can look and see, but often with these you can't actually see the terminal very easy. It's covered over, so you can miss them sometimes. That removes this element. Now I'm going to dress in the neutral wires. So I'm going to get on with that now. I'll pop this on a time lapse and you can watch me doing the rest, and we'll catch up with a video probably when I've got this out on site. So I will see you all there wiring this away with the final circuits. Okay, so you can see where I've got to. I've got these little tabs stuck on the side there. These are actually really good. They tend to stay stuck, unlike some other varieties I've tried in the past. They're just loosely holding these fly leads, so they can be taken out and removed and repositioned if needed. I've dropped some at the back just to hold the fly leads for the earth tags off these RCBOs. They've just been taken up to the CPC bar for now, ready to go with the final circuits. They're not in the right terminal number, but I know they're in order, so when I come to dress those away with the final circuits I can pop them in and label them up with the tags. You can see we've got tags on these neutral fly leads down there as well. The main switch is all in and ready. There is going to be some other circuits going here, so we're going to have the 3-phase circuit out to the workshop. There's then some more power and lighting circuits and such for the house, trying to keep that at this side. And you can see I've had a go at trying to balance out the loading as best I can. So we've got a B32 on L3 there, then rotates to a B6, back to another B32, and then on the L1 phase I've done that as well, rotated between 32s and 6s, and then the L2 phase I've tried to keep consistent at 20 amp circuits. In a domestic setting it's really difficult to try and get your load balancing anything like consistent across all phases, because we just don't know how people are going to use the install. Whereas in a commercial setting, you know people are coming to work every day, you know what machinery is going to be on in what places generally, and you can make a much better estimation of things from the design stage. This is just the best effort at that. I've done it out on electrical OM, of course, and it's kind of matching up with that. We'll see if it pans out in real world, because we can take some current clamp measurements and see what's actually going on in the install later on. On this side we're going to pop the AC and EV charge point circuits. If we end up powering the EV charge point from the house, we're still unsure if it's going to come off the workshop board or off the house board itself. We shall see. But I thought we'd keep the more consistently loaded circuits on this side of the board, just so we can offer some spacing. Helps a little bit with any of the thermal build-up between the protective devices. You're only ever going to see nuisance tripping if it became too much of a problem, because it lowers the operating current of the device rather than increase it. So you're not forming a safety issue per se, but you are increasing the probability of perhaps operating a protective device when you don't necessarily want to. And I've spoken about that before. Usually it's all taken in hand due to cable derating from containment, where all the cables are bunched up together, and also the characteristics of the loading on the circuit. You don't really want your protected device anywhere near that, so you're generally quite a bit away anyway, but it is something to keep in mind. And on this one I've got the opportunity to have a bit of spacing, so I thought air conditioning, heating, dishwasher, anything like that where it's going to be on for a consistent period of time with a reasonable load. Like I say, if we do have the EV charge point, we can pop that on there as well. But for now we can run out onto site. See, we've got our entry holes there. This is basically going to sit in a cupboard. We're going to have some circuits entering from the bottom of the trunk in, leading up and then dressed into the top. There is also cables coming down into this trunking out the top as well, and we can get all of the containment joint together on the job. This is really as far as we can take it off site. See the entry plate on the bottom, we've got a nice big knockout for our main supply coming into the board, and then if we need any other little knockouts for some steel wire armour cables, perhaps if we're going to do the air conditioning off here or an EV charge point, we don't necessarily have to land into the trunking. We could potentially use one of these for that as well. But let's jump out to site and we'll pick up with the install there. We are on an epic rewire at the moment in a little village just outside of our local town. It's a place called Wetwang, famous for Richard Whiteley. And yeah, you'll see down there we've got this IKQ board from Schneider that's been mounted on some ply. There is some rot in the floor, so this is all getting attention at the minute. So I'm going to have a little go at trying to see if I can progress this in the stage it's at. But you'll see we've got lots of old cabling stripped out. There is some very much Heath Robinson style wiring that's gone on in the wall over there. You can see that connector blocks that were just behind the fabric of the building. We've got our new drops in, some socket outlets already over here. See, this is where we brought our cable into. We've got our drops down for the light switching. This room's basically been first fixed already. Matthew and Nathan are on with the kitchen, or what will be the kitchen. I'll just take you upstairs and quickly show you where we're up to up here. You'll note there's bits of cables running all over the place. This is work in progress. See, we've still got the old wiring system to strip out of this room, but we have got our new feeds in. See over this side again, drops in. It's our big main router cable up there. So we're all good to go. And likewise in this corner there. So you can see this is the far end. We've already got some chases out over there. So we're upstairs now. That's where I started, right over there. So we've got a stairwell down here. Little bathroom. All these bedrooms are going to be converted to en-suites. I'll try and show you the plan if I can find it downstairs. Another set of stairs down there. Really nice old building this. That's the original bathroom that I showed you right at the start, so you can see down there. Bedroom here that we're still chopping out. So there's radiators to come out. We've got some feeds up in that corner there. You can see evidence of Matthew's handiwork dotted around the place. In this bedroom, they have already got the first fix in. You can see over there and there we've got our first fix feeds in for the new layout. So yeah, that's been done. There's going to be some air conditioning as well going in, so we've got feeds up for those. I'll take you down and show you in the dining room and other areas that we've got so far. Like I say, we're tackling this alongside the customer sort of living in the premises, so we're moving stuff around as we go. For those of you who rewire occupied properties, you'll know exactly what I mean. We've got some little drops here for some wall lights, central light, another wall light. That's the light switch over there, another light switch here that's been chased in again using oval tube. And then we've got our socket in the corner, and we've also taken some feeds through into the kitchen in that corner as well. So they're going to be covered and in zone. And in the kitchen you can see Matty's just on with dropping feeds in. So just tubing up now, so we've got our cables in over here for some lighting. We've got some power over there in that corner. Another drop over there to a socket outlet. You may be able to see just in the distance. We've got one over here as well. So these drops just need securing into the chases now, which is the task for this afternoon for these guys. I'll show you the original intake because it's interesting. So this isn't the only position of metering in this property. There's a workshop outside as well, but you can see we've got a meter, single phase board, lots of singles on show up there, and some other bits and pieces. Just across the yard in this workshop building there is also another supply coming into the property. The DNO I think are going to remove that because we're having 3-phase put into here, as you may have noticed from the board we've got outside. So this will all be getting stripped out. I'll show you the feed outside. Well, we've got the camera on the go. You can see it runs high level across the top and then it drops down through the wall there. So that's all going to come out, and we're going to have a new 3-phase supply that's going on that side of the house. This conservatory is coming down and we're going to run 3-phase over to this workshop because the customer uses 3-phase equipment and they need that in the workshop. So that's the primary reason for going for 3-phase. We've also got an EV charge point to install here, which we'll be covering. You can see Matthew's just in Cable City here, just dropping the tube over all of this lot. We've got our main feeds coming down. There's some old cables mixed in with this as well that we're taking out, and we'll get it all neatened up. I'll show you the end result of that a little bit later on in the video. We've got some old feeds capped off up there. But my little task is in this room. So back down this end, whoops, and I'll pop you up on a tripod and we'll have a little go at trying to dress this away. It is also convenient that there's a heater in here. That was here before I got here. I haven't stolen one and stuck it in the room because it is freezing. The water on the inside of the glass is freezing as we speak. So I'll get this mounted up. We'll have a little stool brought with me. My marking up kit. We'll see if we can get some of this stripped and into the board and tidied up. I have done another little video in the unit just building up this board. I may include it with this one, I may not, we'll see. But yeah, you can see I've already popped all the RCBO fly leads in down that backside there, and they're just loosely secured with those sticky tabs, and then the earth ones coming up the back of the RCBOs there. And this is the IKQ range of board. We'll have a chat about that in a second. Okay, so you can see I've stripped the twin and earth back into the top of the trunking. Just allows us to dress it a little bit neater inside the board. You don't have to do that, but it's going to give us a bit more flexibility once we get in here. I'm putting ID tags on. So this is 12L3 and it's the AC feed for one of the bedrooms. So I've numbered that up on the side here, correlating to the code on our design, so we know what that is. Just get the CPC done in the same way, and then I'm going to work through all of these cables. We'll just put the ID tags on the end for now and leave them down the sides of the boards appropriate to them. I'm still waiting on some RCBOs been delivered. The ones we do have them for, might as well dress them into them as we go. I've got the circuits coming from underneath to run around across the top, but I thought I'd get these ones dressed in first. There's quite a big bulk of them. And then I'll jump back on the video with you once I've got to that stage, because I don't think my phone battery is going to last up long enough to cover all of it while I do it. And yeah, it's not the best content either, is it, to be truthful? So I'll get these stripped off, get them dropped into the board, and I'll explain what I've done when we get to that stage. So I'll just catch up with you in a second. Okay, so you'll see I'm perched on a little pop-out stool here because, as Jamie often tells you, it's Jamie Blatant, kneeling is the equivalent of smoking for your knees. So don't do it, and you don't need knee pads. I've just stripped this twin and earth out into the trunking for now, and I'm marking up the ends with the ID tags as I go. Point of note, if you're doing this, make sure you fold over the ends of the cables, otherwise your IDs will drop off and you won't know what anything is. And always as a backup plan, mark up on your outer sheath in the trunking what is what, just in case you do have these come off or something happens. You can always revert back to those to find out what is what. And equally, if the board ever gets replaced or it comes off the wall for somebody else in the future, they've got a fighting chance of knowing what cable does what when they've got to that stage if they don't mark up. And then I always write down the side of the board as well as I go what each circuit is. So in this case, I've got 12L1 as the far end sockets, for example, and I'll just write that all the way up and photograph it at the end of the job as well, just in case that happens to get wiped off, because we're going to be a bit of time between the DNO doing their work and getting this energized so we can test it, and the RCBOs turning up. When you've got a step where you're away from site for a little bit, make sure your belt and braces know what everything is, because you'll regret the time you don't do that at some point in the future. So I'm going to get on with that now. I've just got the rest of these to drop in from the top. We'll get them all labelled up. I'll show you how I dress them away down each side. Obviously there's no RCBOs on this side of the board, so I can't terminate them, but you can organise your neutrals and your lines together to make it look neat down the side of the board, and same with your CPCs. Obviously this lot all needs tidying up, it's just loose for the minute. If I have included building up of this board beforehand in this video, you'll know why, but they're not in the right terminal positions, so we're going to cut those to length and neaten them all up when we get to that stage. They're just held in place for now. So yeah, let's crack on with that, and I'll jump up with you in just a sec. Okay, so you can see where I'm up to. I've been quite comfortable perched on my little stool down here, and I've got the circuits pulled in across this top side. You can see I've just loosely cable tied these, so the ties are the wrong way around. You can actually undo them as shown, so if you wish to adjust things later on, it's not going to be too much of a hardship, but it just helps the cables form into position. You can see I've got the lines and the neutrals drop down this side, so you can kind of see how that's going to come together as the RCBOs get fitted. And then the CPCs are just behind, so they're going to dress into this earth bar nice and neat at the top. That is kind of where I'm up to at the minute. Obviously these circuits will pull back into the trunking some more. I've just kind of pulled them through further than they're going to be for the minute to clear access to these holes. So as I bring the cables up from the bottom, I've got good space to work with at this side. And yeah, I'm going to get on with that now. Like I say, all the ID tags are on. Make sure you bend your ends over, because then there's a good chance that they'll stay on there for when you need them next time. And also make a little note, you can see I've gone down that side there. It runs from 8L3 all the way to 12L3. I'm going to get a picture of that once I've stopped using my phone as a YouTube camera. So I've got that logged, and all the outer sheaths have got it marked on as well up there. But we'll jump on with this and I'll catch up with you in just a second. Okay, so you can see where I'm up to now. We have got the cables dressed in and away loosely. This isn't a final finish, so don't worry yourselves about the neatness. The cable ties are just loose fit. They're in reverse, as I said earlier on, so they're not fastened tight. They will just pop off once we've got this finished and fixed back. We can open them up and get rid of them, but for the minute they're just going to hold the cables nicely to help them form a shape in the board so it looks a bit better once we've finished the job. These ones on this side, we're waiting on the RCBOs, so I can't do anything with those for the minute, but they are labelled up and their ends are popped over. Again, written in the back of the board what everything is, so we know where we are. Top of the trunking, these are obviously going to swoop over more that way once we've dressed these circuits in, but for the minute they're just there so we could have access to drop these cables in. But we have got some more circuits to pop up into here. We're just currently the other side of the house, working our way through on the rewire, and once the guys have got the cables back, I can dress them into the board. But yeah, that is where we're up to for the minute. Like I said, I've popped the CPCs in as well for this side, so you can see up there, they're tucked in nice and neat, and you've got plenty of access to all these holes, so if anybody needs to come and add a circuit later on, it's not going to be a massive drama for them fishing around everything, trying to open something up. Tried to have a bit of foresight there, and we've got loads of options for ourselves when we come to pop in any steel wire armours in for the workshop, where we've got the trunking we can hit up. We can even go straight into the bottom of the board or on this side of the board. There's loads of options, so we're all good there. Yeah, that's kind of where we're up to. I will jump back on with you guys in just a bit. Okay, so you can see we're dressed away pretty neatly for the minute. If we look over at this side, I've popped these in, the sticky pads just down that side, so they're nicely formed into position, so the cable ties did the job to help them kind of fix themselves a bit nicer, I guess. And then they're loose fitted in the back there. We've got the RCBOs dressed in. Along this side, I'm still waiting on some other RCBOs, so I've not gone too neat at this one for the minute. And we are going to have to gland in a couple of steel wire armours at this side. So these line and neutrals will have to run down off the edge, so the sticky pads will be on the back. But as you can see, they're nice and neat, and we've got most of the circuits dressed away in there. It's just 3 or 4 left. There is going to be the feed going out to the workshop and an EV charge point from here, so they're in ready. And then we just need to run through some testing for these circuits as we get second fixed. As you've seen for the wider install, we've still got quite a bit of work to do there. The DNO needs to come and work their magic over here in the future, and then we can energize some of this in a few weeks time, hopefully. But yeah, that's the board done for the minute until some more materials turn up, so we'll pick up with that one a bit later on. So you can see we've reached the stage now where this video is kind of where we're up to. We're going to have a Christmas break, so we won't be here for a bit. See, customers got the tree up, got all our chases in with the cap in as we'd said. All the wall lights are in the right place, and this new kitchen is now first fixed. The customer's taking all the plaster off, as we said, so we don't have to be too neat and tidy. We've got sockets dotted around all over with the oval tube and the all-round band on it holding it in. So we've got those dropped down there. We've got some light and extractor power, some cooker power. We've got all drops. There's going to be some shelves here, so we've got some flexes coming out into those. Cable route for upstairs, sockets and switches. So you can use these back-in clips to lock your oval tube in, as they've done here, or you can use your all-round band and just wrap it around as they have done there. But yeah, that's kind of where we're up to on this one. We are now going to be taking a little Christmas break. I don't know when this video will release, if it's before or after Christmas, but we will show you this one as it moves along. We've got the second part of the house. Well, I say second part, we've kind of done 2/3 now, I'd say. We've just got the last remaining third on there where the customer's currently basing themselves, both up and down, but the rest of the house, good stage, tackle the outside lighting, We're going to get some power on down this end. The DNA are going to be a good 4 to 6 weeks with a meter company as well. So once we get some power into that board, we can use some of the socket safety shields to get some power on for the customer to then finish what they're doing over this end of the building and move down for us to then start over there. So this is going to be something that kicks on well into next year. We'll keep revisiting it, show you the progress. We've got some interesting circuit accessories to pop on. Otherwise, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will see you on the next one.